Holy cow, we starting on time. It's 7:01 Pacific and I assume 10:01 Eastern. This is the sound off, the final segment of the bi-monthly meeting of the No Name Cinema Society. This is our freeform segment. This is Society Sound Off. I'm Jonathan Betzler, one of your hosts. And if you're watching this video, you may have seen I put parenthetically that this is 1990 edition of the Sound Off because this is pretty much this whole night in honor of us talking about Goodfellas earlier, and really in honor of you guys who, after we did that 1990 review show on February 26th, you guys seemed to really get behind that certainly with your views and your likes on YouTube. A lot of positive feedback, and there was a lot of questions like more about 1990, like what would you do this, with that. We're going to answer a bunch of those right now. So that's kind of fun. So it's a 1990 theme throughout tonight's freeform segment, so I'm excited about that. So I did not know either of these gentlemen in 1990, but I'm glad to know them now, believe it or not. Ladies and gentlemen, let's start with our youngest representative. Let's go with Davy Joe. Welcome.
Thank you. I don't know if I actually am the youngest, but I'll take it.
I just meant looks the youngest.
Well, no question about that.
and also Jay Money is with us today. How you doing, Jay Money?
Good. I knew you in 1990. I don't think you were aware of it, though. I was watching you from the beginning, JP.
That is very possible. I would have been something like, golly, 34 or something? Yeah. Anyway, so all right. So as always, the first segment of our sound off is going to be focused on this young man right here. Are you ready for Davy's Diatribe? It's funny because the picture didn't come up till after I sang, so I feel a little awkward now. But it's time for Davy's Diatribe. And Davy, I wanted to stick with the theme, and let's see if I don't know if you feel like this will be a jip or not. But I'm curious. I know I usually give you some topics to discuss, but this evening was so 1990 focused. I wanted you to talk a little bit about how you felt about the overall project of seeing all these 1990 movies that we watched and going over them the way that we did. How did you feel about that process and the show itself?
It's all right. No,
And ladies and gentlemen, that was Davy's Diatribe, right here in the sound off. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
And now let's move on to our next segment. And just kidding, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go back to Davy. What do you got, Davy?
No, it was fun, and I liked talking about Goodfellas. Yeah. Well, and before. Every time we talk about Goodfellas, I like it.
Well, what about the rest of that show that we did, and like rewatching those movies and stuff?
No, it was fun, and I think I don't know if I don't know, am I spilling the beans? We're gonna do something like that again.
I was going to get to that.
All right. So I think that we all liked it, and we're gonna do it even bigger and better next year around.
So cool. My other question for you to unpack a little bit is how would you? I mean, like it's interesting when looking back at the films of 1990, they don't seem, and if you disagree with this, then please say so. But they don't seem as different as from today, like between 1990 and 2015, the 25 years there, the films don't feel that different. There's obviously some differences, like from culturally and some other things, but the style and the feel, they can resemble films that we watch today to some degree.
Yeah.
However, if we look at films from 1965 and compare them to films from 1990, it almost feels like they're on different planets, although that is also 25 years. And I'm curious if you had any thoughts as to what was behind that. First of all, do you agree? And if so, what is that?
I don't think that you could disagree with that. I think that's fact. You're 100% right.
Great. And ladies and gentlemen, that was David.
Now, if you're gonna ask me why,
Which I did.
I mean, I can tell you how, but why is tough. Why?
Well, wouldn't they be related? The how and the why?
Well, I can tell you how they're different.
Oh, okay.
But but why is that's big. I don't know. I'm willing to take help from the two of you.
Well, I mean, why don't you say how first, and then we'll phone a J Money.
Well, I think there was a certain level of I think the types of topics that people were willing to explore through pop culture, definitely that broadened between '66 and '90, and it kind of stayed that way. It's broadened since then, but the level, I think we're talking about the level magnitude of the difference. Certainly, it's much greater. I mean, I think in terms of language and violence and the types of just the types of stories that people were willing to tell on film. I think the differences between the mid '60s and 1990, it's a much starker contrast than 1990 to 2015.
So J Money, I think he needs some help from you. Do you have any thoughts as to this?
Well, yeah, it's a subject that I definitely think about quite a lot, just in general, and not necessarily with movies, but with all sorts of different or media. It's funny because as we were just talking about the Last Picture Show, and as I was watching that movie, I kept thinking, okay, this is a movie it came out in '71, but it was about 51, 52, and I was thinking that's the equivalent of me watching a movie that's about the 1990s at this point, and how would there be as much of a disconnect between how people approach the subject matter from 20 years ago, nowadays as there would be from people when they approached it from 20 years ago when they were in the 70s. I feel like people approach content in a way that's different in general, and I think that a lot of it has to do with this point, which happens, I think, for every medium in general, any artistic medium. There's a point where it seems like after people get used to how it works, people get more creative freedom with it. I mean, I think with movies, specifically, we can talk about the breakdown of the studio system and how that affected a lot more.
Well, technically speaking, the studio system broke down in 1948. So,
but I feel like it wasn't until the 60s and 70s that there were so many more independent filmmakers. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe.
Right, well, that's a different thing altogether, which I can get into, and I can start now unless you've got more.
Well, I guess what I would say is that there seems to be a break point with a lot of creative mediums where it starts out within the confines of what is socially acceptable for the medium. Like the painting is the same way. Certainly, we've seen a lot of changes in just artistic medium. Television, radio, they all went through phases where they were very tightly controlled, usually because of commercial reasons. And then there was a point where some sort of system fell apart, and there became a lot more individuality in the process, and there became a lot of people that were like individually, personally responsible for how they were creating their artwork. And I feel like we've seen that happen since the 70s. So I feel like the difference between that and now is different. I mean, I think we've had 40 years of this incredibly individual sort of way of approaching film that wasn't necessarily there 60 years ago. It wasn't there necessarily in the 50s and 60s, but it's been there since the 70s. So in that sense, we've kind of plateaued in some ways,
Yeah, I mean, I think it seems to me that there's been less technological advances in the last 25 years from a filmmaking point of view or less major ones anyway, than there was in the 25 years before that. Also, I mean, we've had less significant movements in the last 25 years, specifically thinking about, but in just 2 years after 1965, 1967 is considered like the movie revolution in the year that's the year Graduate, Bonnie and Clyde came out.
Right.
The influence of foreign films and art films, so to speak, were starting to seep into American films. And there was this great time between 1967 and 1975 where, I mean, like, all of us seemed to really enjoy the films that were nominated for Best Picture. I mean, like, we're talking about the Chinatowns of the world, the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. There was this is considered a golden age of cinema where the filmmakers, are really learning, and film schools are popping up in the late 60s. That's the sort of thing that hadn't happened yet. So it's sort of plateaued, I think, almost. The other thing that happened before 1990 is MTV in 1981, which changed the pace of how movies were made and consumed. Editing is 10 times faster in general, and that's actually been proven mathematically in terms of amount of time per shot. Not 10 times, but I mean, like, I think we're a full second and a half shorter per shot than we were, in 1980, for example.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I mean, like, Faces, which is a film we've talked about off camera recently, is really the start of the independent film, truly independent film. John Cassavetes' work in the late 60s, early 70s. But in terms of those are sort of anomalies and outliers. Really, the modern independent movement, as we know it, started in 1989 with Sex, Lies, and Videotape. And with that in mind, even that was before 1990. And if there's any difference between 1990 and 2015, is there's significantly more independent films in the marketplace than there were in 1990. And we looked at some of the Independent Spirit nominees from 1990, and and they were even hard to find, even just to watch. I mean, there's a film called To Sleep with Anger, which was highly regarded back then, and it's unavailable.
Well, I wasn't really necessarily talking about independent production. I was really more talking about the way that filmmakers approach the medium.
The independent mentality.
Yeah, the mentality of it to me seems like they were.
Because I mean, a lot of those films that you're thinking of as independent, aside from Faces, they were actually made within the studio system. It's at that time the studios were run by independent minds during 1967, 1975.
It just seemed like there was a greater sense of exploration. I think people had reached a point where they felt like they could explore within the medium, and I think that just is the thing that happens at some point. I mean, I think it happened with television as well. I think it happened with radio.
But frequently we talk about the major changes in cinematic history. 1927, The Jazz Singer. 1939, Gone with the Wind changed, what we thought were possible with movies. 1951, Streetcar Named Desire changed how we thought about performances in movies and the realism, and maybe On the Waterfront took that to the next level 3 years later. 1967 started the influx of the foreign film influence and art films influence. Films, storytelling started to be a little different, a little more abstract, a little more detailed and in-depth. But then in 1975, Jaws really changed things, and from a financial and business point of view, the summer blockbuster. Yep. And that really was, aside from the independent film movement in 1989, that's probably that change that Jaws created has never really left us. We haven't really moved on from that.
Right.
And that's why I think that that's the pivot point for me in terms of examining the large difference between the first set of 25 years, 2015 to 1990, and that second set of 25 years, 65 and 90. I don't know. So that's my theory. Davey Joe, it's your diatribe. What do you think?
Yeah, no, that all sounds good.
And that was Davey's diatribe, everybody.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
All right, Davey, I did want to. The third thing is, because the 1990 thing was so successful, I did want to use your diatribe if you wanted to announce what we're going to do next time.
Yeah.
And it's related to this discussion of 1965 and 1990.
Right. We're gonna do so next year when we do the top tens, just like we did this year with the 1990. We're going to do 66, right? I mean, because it's gonna be 25 or 50, would it be 50 years before? So we're gonna do the movies of 1966, and it's gonna be something else. You gotta tune in.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
You gotta tune in. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It'll be next February thereabouts. So yeah, check that out.
Yeah, it probably will be. I mean, I think the Oscars are already dated, and I have them on my calendar, but I don't remember them. It's that last weekend in February, so I imagine we'd be around that time. J Money, how do you feel about 1966?
I'm looking forward to it. 66. It's a good number. Add another 6 on there. Then it gets fun.
Oh my gosh. And our classic movie fans, I think, will be really excited that we're going to try and go further back. It's a bit of an experiment. Obviously, the 1990 thing was successful. The show I did previously, Film and Vision, was successful in doing 25 years. So it's a bit of an experiment trying to go back 50. But we had one of our more successful shows was our show on the Fortune Cookie, which was 1966. And so it'll be. I also think it'll be fun to explore something we don't know as much about. You know what I mean? To not have that personal connection, I think it'll be an interesting experiment. Davey, what else do you have on this?
I got more.
I'm asking. I don't know. Do you?
But I mean, I think it's gonna be a good time. I think it's gonna be a good time, and I think it'll make for a fun show. And the 1990 show did very well, so I'm looking forward to 66.
Okay. Well, and do you have anything else that you want to do with your diatribe? Now that we've covered all that.
Yeah, real quick. I want to do a little comic book because just because we've talked about it on here. I know it's not a 1990 thing, so I'm gonna real fast. So far, we've had Daredevil and we've had Batman versus Superman, and
you don't mean Daredevil?
Yeah, no, I don't. I mean Deadpool. The Red D Marvel. Anyway, thank you. Deadpool's awesome. I think that there's a lot of real breaking of convention in that movie that could sort of rub some people the wrong way. I really liked it a lot. Batman vs Superman is a gigantic mess, and it's at times it's a completely lazy film. But it's also, I think, a lot of fun in other ways. So don't get me wrong, though, it's bad. But anyway, I know that we had started that conversation on the diatribe. I just wanted to kind of do the state of the comic book world through film as I see it.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was Davey's diatribe. Finally at its real completion at this time. All right, so let's move on. Actually, I probably spent more time on that than I intended. So it's time for the next segment, and I think it's the second time we've done this. But either way, if it's not, then it's the first time we've seen this cool graphic. Tweet beat! I'm coming up with little theme songs now. I didn't even realize.
That's a song?
Tweet beat! Jingle?
Right.
Would it be a jingle?
Sure.
Anyway, so I like how the Twitter bird is cursing. I don't think I've noticed that before. On Twitter after the 1990 review show, several of you asked. One thing we sort of talked about films that we would like to remake on the 1990 review show. I had two films. Jay Money had one, and David Joe had one. And then so on Twitter you asked us who would we cast? If we did remake these films these films from 1990 that we wanted to remake, who would we recast? So that is the question you asked. We've got the answers for you right now. I've rewatched all four of these films just for tonight, so I am fully prepared with what else is new. I doubt these guys are, but I believe Jay Money is at least prepared for the one film he wanted to remake. He wanted to remake Flatliners.
That's right, I did. Although I did not.
And by the way, I just wanted to point out, I cut to you already, so so you'll just have to listen on camera. But I just want to point out that in rewatching all these films, you guys are dead right. They definitely could use remakes. Like that it was a really good call, and I'm not even being facetious. Like, Flatliners in particular, was like this could be so good. So much better. So I think it's not a bad film, but Joel Schumacher's not a good filmmaker, and so my point is, it was a really good call on your part.
Excellent. Yeah, word up to that. Schumacher sucks. Definitely.
Let's start with Nelson. Who would you recast as Nelson?
We're talking about Kiefer Sutherland, right?
Yes, we are talking about Kiefer.
I mean, let's just be clear about this for a second. I did not get a chance to watch Flatliners, although I guess if I had thought about it over the last couple of weeks, I probably could have figured it out. I did, however, peruse Wikipedia's entry on Flatliners, though, so I feel like I'm good to go.
Pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I probably wasted my time by rewatching it. I don't know what I was thinking.
Honestly, I kind of want to watch it again because I don't know if I mentioned this last time. I saw it twice in the theater when it came out as a young Nave. Yeah, no, I really liked it a lot. And then rereading the synopsis, I thought, oh, this sounds awful. But I bet it was probably fun for me back then. Nelson, a.k.a. Kiefer Sutherland, I was trying to think of actors that could fill the shoes of somebody that seemed emotionally sort of adept and troubled and mournful, but also knowledgeable. Somebody that seems like they have a presence that seems, I don't want to say authoritative, but almost intelligent, but at the same time has this undercurrent of troubled sort of emotion behind them in a lot of things that I've seen them do. And I came up with James McAvoy. I honestly think that McAvoy could bring some of the more, I think, deeper sort of nuances to Nelson's character in terms of dealing with loss and grief that I think Kiefer Sutherland also managed to bring to the movie, if I remember correctly. And I could definitely see him in the role of sort of a quiet, sensitive man in a way,
Yeah, no, I mean, like I was searching. I didn't have Flatliners photos prepared. I just have photos of the actors I chose. So I'm a little caught with my pants down here. I think that's a good choice, though. It's not who I came up with, but I have no issue with that choice. I want to come up with a Flatliners photo, though. So, Davy Joe, what do you think?
I like it. That sounds good. That sounds really good.
Do you have an alternative?
I thought I was just supposed to do Reversal of Fortune, so I didn't.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's J Money's did Flatliners, so
right, good,
no harm, no foul.
No harm, no foul.
So here's who I got coming up here. If I can get things going fast enough here with my photos. There we go. So I think I may have I think I may have converted these myself. So we'll see if they work. I went with a guy that we've seen a lot of in all our shows, and I think he might be more age appropriate. I think maybe McAvoy might be slightly older, maybe not. He reads young, but I went here. Has it come up yet for you guys?
Not yet.
Oh, it's probably too large.
Oh, no.
Because it's that issue of them being too large. Okay, because I didn't convert them myself. I mean, I did convert them myself. I went with Miles Teller.
Oh.
I'll see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, certainly the potential to be a douchebag is something he shares, with Kiefer Sutherland.
Yep, absolutely.
Shimon, who'd you have for David?
And which one's David now?
Kevin Bacon.
Well, Kevin Bacon is Kevin Bacon. I mean, I don't think I would recast Kevin Bacon. I believe that Kevin Bacon is
they're med students.
As himself still. I would love to see Kevin Bacon reprise the role. Kevin Bacon reprise the role a little bit. Maybe some prosthetic to help him, age back. But I want to keep Bacon in. I'm going to keep Bacon in this case.
He doesn't age. He looks the same.
Sure.
He's fine.
Sure.
You're joking about Kevin Bacon, right? You've got to be.
No, I want him in this movie still. I want to keep Kevin Bacon in. I want him to be the older sort of I don't know. We can recast him in a way that'll be.
Well, what about his love affair with Rachel?
Well, what's wrong with that? I mean, he's still a desirable man.
Oh my God. Davy Joe, do you have a thought on this?
I think this is fantastic. I'm watching. This is good because this is nothing I say could be this bad. So you keep going, man. Keep going.
Well, Davy Joe, I kind of think you like who I have for David.
Who is it? Oh yeah.
Michael B. Jordan.
That's an idea.
Creed himself as the moral center of the group. I mean, obviously he's a talented actor. He's someone that we've, you actually named him one of your top 5 actors of the year, as I recall, Davey, for Creed.
Yes.
So I mean, and I'm a big fan of his work, and I think this is a great role for him. I think he'd do a great job. And not that Kevin Bacon was bad, but with modern actors, and he's worked with Miles Teller before. In some random frat party type movie. which I don't remember the name of. All right, so tell me
Fantastic
your
Four.
Rachel. What's that?
They were together in Fantastic Four.
Oh, and that's true as well.
Yeah,
okay, there you go. Rachel for
my Rachel's. I don't think my Rachel will be a surprise to anybody. I mean, I was trying to think of whippersnapper female lead characters that have taken the world by storm over the last couple of years. Certain Miss Jennifer Lawrence came up to mind quickly and immediately, and I definitely see J-Law in this role. I definitely see her.
I thought about her, but then I just thought that was. I mean, she's a little too big, and she's got too much. I don't know. Like I don't know. I wanted to, not that she's not talented. I think we all did. Though we didn't like Joy, we liked her in it. I went here with a less obvious choice. Oh, it's another one that doesn't come. Amber Tamblyn.
Amber
Do you guys know or remember Amber Tamblyn?
Yeah. I know we saw her in something this year, and I'm blanking.
I don't think we did.
No?
No, and I don't have the photo here, unfortunately, because I didn't want to like reveal my choices to you, so I tried converting them myself, and that shows what that happens there. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Amber, she was in 127 Hours, you know, in the early part of 127 Hours with Kate Mara. Her and Kate Mara hang out with James Franco in the cave and stuff. She was great in a movie called Stephanie Daly from, I think it was 2007, an indie film where she played a high school student. She's obviously a little older now. Great young actress. Don't Google her because you're on camera.
I'm doing it.
I just did.
I'm doing it.
Davey, so what do you think?
Sure. No, I know her from House.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah, she was on House.
Who was she in House?
She was the genius medical student that was part of the team. She was like an intern.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Sure. Yeah, I'm good with her.
Okay, so great. Feel great about that. I also parenthetically put Danielle Panabaker, my old buddy from Time Lapse.
Oh yeah.
I wanted to get like one of my people I know in there. Like I thought maybe it was a little too like nepotistic, even though we're not related. But you know what I'm saying. But I think she could play the part. Anyway,
the bridge is burned. The bridge is burned. It's too late.
How? Oh, because I cast Amber over her.
No, with just Time Lapse in general. Just
well, Bridge isn't burned with the actors. Anyway, J Money, who do you got as Joe?
And Joe is William Baldwin?
That's correct.
Okay, very good. So I split on this. I could have gone two different ways. And I don't know if you've put together how I'm casting this movie yet, but I'm going to keep going in that direction. I could have gone with Fassbender, although he's a little bit too old, honestly, but I also feel like he's a suave motherfucker, and he is perfect for that role in that sense.
Way too
I also maybe spiced it up a little bit with Anthony Mackie. I also might have like put him in this situation as another guy who's very suave and debonair.
Also too old.
Yeah, I guess in general I'm casting older than the movie portrayed these original characters, but I think we're at a point, in culture where we can see this happen. So
I don't know, but they're med students. Here's where I went.
Okay.
Do you recognize this photo?
Yeah, that's from that DJ movie.
Yeah, that's Zac Efron.
I'll see Zac Efron there. I'll go with you on that one.
What about you, Davy Joe?
I mean, definitely got the right look. I don't know. I don't like him that much. But
well, I mean, certainly that role of Joe, that womanizing guy. I mean, that's like catnip to him. I think that is something he does.
I agree. I just didn't. I thought that I didn't like him in that movie at all.
I didn't mind it, but I mean, like, I have seen him do good work. I think he has potential. I certainly liked him in a film called Me and Orson Welles, from 6 to 8 years ago. I think he's got a lot of potential. And sometimes, and I like Neighbors a lot. But sometimes he's relegated to beefcake roles. But I mean, like, I think he's got some skills, and certainly in an ensemble like this, because essentially well, J Money's not, but essentially I'm casting a new Brat Pack.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 'Cause
Yeah.
this is sort of really at the end of the Brat Pack era, and that's sort of where I was going with it. And I feel like he fits in well with these others. But anyway, so one more, and it's Steckel.
And that's Oliver Platt?
It is by process of elimination.
I'm casting old rats. I mean, you got the new Rat Pack. I'm looking for ones that are kind of gritty and gone. I would go with another character who is often, I think, cast in darker, intelligent roles with a little bit of feist to him. I'm going to go with Mark Ruffalo on this. Mark Ruffalo.
You're going so old.
Yeah.
I just don't. Are you changing the concept so that it's not med students?
I don't know, because altogether with my casting choices, I've decided to make this an X-Men franchise. I think it should be X-Men Flatliners. And they're all
Yeah, if they're mutants, mutant flatliners.
I mean,
somehow I get the feeling that you didn't take this very seriously.
I am completely serious. I would love to see this movie evolve, and maybe X-Men's not even right. Maybe it's just Marvel Universe Flatliners.
Oh my God.
These guys are all putting in great.
My audience, I know you're with me, and here's gonna be my last choice, and someone a name that you might not recognize, but we've seen him in 2 films now, one current feature and one indie. Indie was last time. This is Alex Schaefer. We just saw in Win Win, and this is photos from We Are Your Friends. And again, if we're talking like sort of overly nerdy and potentially annoying mate of this group of 5.
I don't know if I see that one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I feel like he's not. I guess I feel like it needs to be a guy that's a little more intellectual seeming. Is that the right word I'm looking for? I don't know. He seems nerdy.
Maybe, but I mean, certainly I see the potential for him to be that.
Well, he seems dorky, not nerdy. I think that's a difference to me.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I'll go with that. Let's move on. And here is Davy Joe's movie that he wanted to remake. I'm pulling up now, and let's see if I can make this happen. So this is Davy Joe. You excited?
Yeah, I am. And let me just tell you that I kind of did the big 3 characters in the film. So I don't know if there were more people.
That's all I did as well.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So this is we're doing Reversal of Fortune. That's what he wanted to do, and this is the real Klaus von Bülow. And I wasn't sure if you use that to frame your point of view, but that's what that is.
Wow.
So
okay.
Who did you go with?
All right. So I of course it was Jeremy Irons in the original, and I came up with 2 names. The first, it's just we've talked about him so much, but I just think Michael Fassbender could totally kill this role. Now I feel like
Fassbender's too young.
Well, he could play older. He could play older. You can make up people to go older. I think the other way doesn't work as well. But you could definitely make.
So
him
is that
older.
a criticism of J Money's casting of Flatliners right there?
Yes,
is that a backhanded criticism?
Yes, it is.
I thought it was a pretty straight ahead criticism.
Oh, the gauntlet is thrown.
The other one I went with was Johnny Depp because I actually think that he kind of looked like Klaus von Bülow in Black Mass, yes. And I think he's a great actor. He could do it. He could do it as well. So those are my 2 ideas there.
J Money, what do you think about those ideas? Or you want to hear mine first?
Well, I think that Davy Joe's ideas are terrible, but
Yeah.
I don't love those ideas. I mean, but I also went British. I felt like that was important to the character, and and this guy might be slightly young, but he's definitely older than Michael Fassbender, and because I mean the other thing is supposedly he's a playboy and he's supposed to be like, or supposedly was super good looking at one point. So, oh, there he is.
Ah, sure.
That's Colin Firth.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, even there, his hairline's receding a little bit there. Like Von Bulow himself was completely bald, but I don't know. Davy Joe, are you offended by this pick?
It's not as good as mine, but I'll go with it.
Wow, he's getting a little testy, J Money.
Well, that's his fault for making bad decisions.
Well, at least initially I didn't think you were taking it seriously. Now it seems like you're taking it too seriously.
Yeah.
J Money, who do you got for Sonny Von Bulow?
Well, it's funny. I was just thinking. I wonder what Pierce
Oh,
Brosnan.
I'm sorry. I meant Davy Joe, but do you have one? Do you have one that you want to think about for Klaus?
I was just wondering what Pierce Brosnan's up to. I mean, speaking of guys that are kind of older and aging into this sort of idea, maybe he.
Yeah, he's been doing some action movies and such. Like, isn't November Man? Is that him?
Oh, is that him?
Yes. Well done.
So,
I just feel like he's an older guy that has some leftover, sort of charm from that era, but a little more weathered and a little more seasoned at this point, perhaps.
He was in,
I also wrote down Tim Roth as an option.
Yeah.
Certainly, like that dark humor is something I think Tim Roth can do real well. But I went with the more like what I thought was almost an obvious choice in Colin Firth. But I like the Pierce Brosnan idea. I think Colin Firth might be a little stronger, like just from an actor point of view.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
So Davy Joe, Sonny.
I only had one for Sonny. I went with Julianne Moore.
Cool. Would she dye her hair?
Yes, she would have to.
Okay. I went with someone already with the hair color. Julianne Moore is amazing. I went with someone a little bit older because again, I feel like at this point that most of we see Sonny, she's older. So I went here. Something very bad just happened. What? I went here. Come on, work. Nothing?
Not yet.
No. Michelle Pfeiffer.
Okay. Yeah.
And that might come into play almost as a because we're recasting her in another movie. So this, I mean, first of all, and also Sonny Van Bulow is supposed to be supposed to have been like beautiful, like super gorgeous at one point. So I think that's a big part of it. So I went with Michelle Pfeiffer. Again, I think she's gorgeous. They both are. But Michelle Pfeiffer, though she may not seem it, she's a little bit older. J Money?
I don't know. She might be a little bit too old at this point, but I was going to say Jessica Lange. I could see her kind of filling out that area.
I do think you're initially that maybe she. I mean, I guess it can go in many directions, but I do think that she might be a little too old.
She might be a little too old, but still totally hot. So just putting that out there.
Oh my God.
Yes, I will. Really? Is she that hot?
Oh.
Fine line, man.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, I guess so. I mean, certainly to each his own. As he drinks his fine wine. Davy Joe, are you offended by the Michelle Pfeiffer pick?
No. Michelle Pfeiffer pick is a good pick. It's a good pick.
All right. Well, let's go with. Do you prefer it to your pick?
No.
All right. Let's go with Dershowitz.
Dershowitz. I'll give you two choices there also. I went either Paul Giamatti. And this is a little young, but I think you could make him old. Jason Biggs.
Jason, and I mean Dershowitz was younger at the time, certainly, because this movie takes place in 1981, 2, and 3 type era.
Yeah, something like that.
So, but I don't know if he was that young. Biggs. I mean, I like Jason Biggs a lot. I like your first choice more. And remind me who it was. Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Giamatti might be old too. Will my picture work? It won't. I went with, and you might remember him from Trumbo. Oh, there he is. Michael Stuhlbarg from Trumbo. You don't like him, J Money?
No, I just don't remember him.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Well, he's probably best known for A Serious Man, that Coen Brothers film from 2010. He's the lead in that movie. He's He's a great. He plays Edward G. Robinson in
Okay.
Trumbo.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a good pick. That's a good pick.
He's a great actor, and he's a chameleon. He's in Hugo. Like he's in so many things that you don't like recognize him being in. So I've wanted to work with him for a long time. There's something right now I'd really like to work with him on, but you know, you get this feedback that he's not famous enough to draw financing and stuff like that. But I admire him a lot, and he's someone that I'd like to think about. And I guess without knowing him, J Money, you got nothing.
In terms of what I think about that guy, seems cool.
Okay.
Well, he was good. He was good though in Trumbo. He was really good.
I mean, like if you went back and looked at his like career, I think that you'll find that he's good in just about everything. Like he's one of those kind of actors. You know what I mean?
Sure.
What's that?
Sure.
Oh, he's also in Steve Jobs. He's also in Steve Jobs.
Oh, who was he in Steve Jobs?
Oh yes, yes, and he was great.
He was one of the main assistants, the one that wasn't Seth Rogen. He had a backpack on.
Yeah, he was great, actually. Yeah.
He paid the tuition.
Yeah.
He did pay the tuition.
Yeah, no, I really like that guy. Yeah, okay, sure. I'm on board with this.
All right, so that is, and audience members, tell us on Twitter if you're jiving with our picks, whose pick you like most. Probably mine, clearly. And now I said that there are two films I'd like to remake. I'm going to start with Quigley Down Under. Here is a still from Quigley Down Under, which is a movie I really enjoyed as a kid, and I think J Money did too. And I still really like the film. It, like the only reason to remake it, I think, is more to see if, like, they update it, modernize it a little bit more, make it feel a little more with today's times. And part of that is recasting it. And you still have never seen this. Is that correct, Davy Joe?
I've seen it.
You seen Quigley Down Under?
Yes, I've seen it. I've seen it on cable before. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you hadn't. Maybe I'm misremembering. Were you the one that didn't see it, J Money? I thought you had.
No, I saw it in the theater when it came out.
Wow.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so did I.
We were there next to each other.
Maybe. I came all the way up to Vermont to see it.
Barely possible.
So starting with Quigley himself, as played by Tom Selleck in the original. I'm going to go here, and maybe this photo will work. Cross your fingers. It's not. Oh, there he is. I'm going with our boy McConaughey. Well, I mean, like, the character's supposed to be from Texas area, and he's got the charm thing down. I think this laconic, somewhat larger than life character, I think that he could do that. And we've all seen his range at this point. So I think, it sounds like you guys are skeptical.
I'm not. I like it.
Would you go mustache or no mustache?
I would go no mustache.
Or
I might go with beard.
Mistake.
All right. Yeah.
I tend to think the mustache looks a little like he's still got a Magnum thing going on, but actually in the movie he has a full-on goatee, if you remember, not just a mustache.
Oh, does he? No, I don't remember that. I remember the mustache because it's Selleck. So
yeah,
okay. Yeah, I see this guy. I see McConaughey here.
Okay, that's a close one. Do you guys have anything else? Like, I assume you don't, but
I don't.
Great.
Bobby Cannavale.
Ooh.
I don't mind that.
That's left field.
It's a little left field. We're so focused on these win-win guys. These characters from our.
It's almost like I just saw that movie, and all those actors are still in my head.
So anyway, that brings us to Crazy Cora, as played by Lars San Giacomo. And let's see if this picture works. It's not looking promising. I really need the picture because you guys might not know this actress. Oh, there she is. This is Amanda Peet.
Yeah, Amanda Peet. There we go. I think that is spot-on casting right there. I think that you totally nailed that one.
I'm going to cut to you just so the audience can help me decide if you're being facetious or not.
No, I am being absolutely, completely honest with you. I think that is absolutely true.
She doesn't get credit for being as good an actress as she is. I feel like because she's so gorgeous that she gets cast in a lot of like pretty women roles. not Pretty Woman like prostitutes, but I mean like you think about Igby Goes Down and things like that.
Yeah.
You know, she's got range, and like I know friends that were in classes with her before she booked anything major, and like she could do stuff, and and in terms of like pretty people that could do stuff, and she's at a good age for this right now. I think she'd be real good Crazy Cora.
And also, I think that she's believable crazy. I think that she knows how to really emote in that emotional range without going over the top of it, Yeah.
I completely agree. Where are you at on that, Davy Joe?
She was really good in Saving Silverman, so I will also starring Jason Biggs. I like her. That's a good pick. It's a good choice.
All right. I'm making what do you call it? Making amends for the previous choice you did. Great. All right, let's go with Marston. And so I had sort of a fun thing. Do you guys watch the show Bloodline?
Yes.
And have you seen Mississippi Grind?
No, but I know who you're going with. Mendelsohn.
This is this didn't work either. But this is Ben Mendelsohn in Quigley Down Under from 1990.
Woo!
He is one of Marston's henchmen. He's the young henchman in the movie. So I thought it'd be fun to bring him back and have him play Marston himself.
Yeah.
And they won't let me show his photo, his modern day photo, because it exceeds the limit. But I thought it'd be fun little casting. And first of all, he's a great actor. He's actually Australian, as opposed to Alan Rickman, who was not. Although they tailored the script to reflect that. But yeah, I thought. I mean, he's a really good actor. You've seen Bloodline or Mississippi Grind. He's terrific. Grace Point is another thing he was on. And he's outstanding, and I think he would do a bang-up job in a role that obviously Alan Rickman did a really good job with as well. But
that's a really good choice.
At this point, I think they're just humoring me, guys. But that's okay, because I mean, I do think they're really good choices.
No, it is. It is. It's really. He's awesome.
So now the other film that I thought we should remake, and again after rewatching it. For the show, I was like, yes, I definitely agree with myself that this needs to be remade. And that was this one, and hopefully this photo will at least work. The Russia House. And have you guys ever seen this movie, let alone once?
No, and apparently we never will.
Wow, I've never seen
Why
it.
is that?
Weren't you saying it was not released? Like on DVD?
I watched it on Amazon.
Oh, it's on Amazon? Okay.
So yeah, I mean, have you ever seen it, Davy Joe?
No, I have not.
All right, so these characters might need nothing to you, so this is basically for our audience then. So I'll try and speed through them because it looks like we're going to be running long tonight. So the main character played by Sean Connery there is a character named Barley. That's his last name. Maybe it's his first name. Barley St. Bartholomew or something like that. I watched this for the last... Anyway, I forget. But here's what I went with this time. And is it going to work? Maybe not. Oh, there he is. So older British guy, but not super old. And this is Ralph Fiennes, obviously, and he's already got some. He's already done John le Carré. Like Rush House is a John le Carré adaptation, and Ralph Fiennes was in The Constant Gardener, also John le Carré adaptation, and so he's got some something going on there. Terrific actor. I think he can do anything, and so I think he would add a lot of gravitas. To the role of Barley, which Connery, he's okay, but he sort of like drifts through in his own, Connery-like way. Michelle Pfeiffer's really good as the Russian woman Katya, but I'd love to cast an actual Russian. And so I've got a picture that hopefully will come up here of the beautiful Olga Kurylenko, who you guys might know best from Quantum of Solace. She's a Bond girl in that one. She's also in Oblivion with Tom Cruise as the female lead in that movie. Obviously, I found like a very sexy photo, but the character is supposed to be sort of young, even though they have a romantic relationship. The character is comparatively young at least in the story. She's got a couple kids, but young kids, and so I do think that the age thing still works. So moving on to the character Dante in the film, as played by maybe I don't have photos for the last two, which is maybe here they are. And this is gonna be a hard one, I think, because you may not know this actor. Dante Yakov was played in the movie by Klaus Marie Brandauer, who's a German actor playing a Russian character, but that's the way it was done. So again, I went with an actual Russian actor, and this is a guy there he is. His name is Oleg Stefan, who you guys might know if you saw this 2006 film called The Good Shepherd, in which he plays the counter spy to Matt Damon's character, and he's amazing in it. Oscar-worthy supporting type performance, and I think this picture might be getting cut off. I can't tell, but anyway, so I think he would be great, and he's also age-appropriate at this time. And the last photo I have is too big. Ned, who's the main, what's the British Secret Service? MI6, is that right?
Yeah.
The lead MI6 guy is played by James Fox in Fred Shepsey's The Russia House. I chose either Hugh Bonneville from Downton Abbey, if you guys know Hugh Bonneville.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you wanted to have a little bit of gender spin on it, I thought Kristen Scott Thomas might be a nice choice as well. And I know that won't mean anything to you guys since you guys have not seen the film. It's worth watching. I really love John le Carré stuff. So I like his books. I like the films. So it's a worthy spy Cold War thriller type thing. And before we move on to my top 5 from 1990, I do want to give Jay Money some shit for something he mentioned in the top 5 in the 1990 review show. His best supporting actor who should have been nominated was Sean Connery in Hunt for Red October. And I rewatched it, not necessarily for this reason, but I rewatched it because I felt like it just actually showed up in the Netflix. I had it in the Netflix queue, and it just sort of showed up. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I think he's definitely. We argued a little bit of it, but I couldn't remember. But now that I've seen it, he's definitely a leading role in that movie.
Is he? Okay.
I mean, like, if you want to talk about supporting characters for that movie, then Sam Neill's performance as his XO seems like that you could make a really good argument for that.
Okay.
But I don't know that I could make the argument for Sean Connery. Just to wrap that up.
Fair enough.
All right. And if you ever rewatch it, want to argue again about it, Sound Off is the place to do it.
I would not argue with that. And let's just say retroactively, I'm nominating Sam Neill.
Can you edit that in?
Right, it's done. Well, we have to go back and retape that now, though. We have to retape the whole show.
The whole show over.
All right, so last bit of the evening, and so we're going late, I guess, tonight. The recastings took longer. Maybe we took too long with the diatribe as well. But let's just get this night. Let's just put a bow on 1990 and do my top 5, my new top 5 films from 1990. If you did watch, and many of you did watch the show on 1990, then you would know that at that time I had this little, we showed what my top 10 from 1990 was,
Oh, yeah.
let's see, back then, but I can't seem to find what I'm looking for here. Hold on, let me try something else. Okay, here we go, I found it. So we showed this particular graphic that I'm about to re-pull up here of the top 10 films I made back in 1990 of films of 1990. So, again, these are films that I saw as a lad, and there you see Quigley Down Under at the top. So, thanks, Jay Money, for making this graphic. But a lot of you asked, what it would be like, how different it would be if I made the top 10 now, especially now that I've rewatched or watched for the first time some of these 1990 films. Now, you already know one film that's not on this list that we talked about ad nauseum tonight is Goodfellas, so you already know where we're going with that one. Anyway, so we're going to do the rest of the top 5 and hopefully go through them very quickly. All right. First is Jay Money had mentioned this movie in the 1990 review show as something he thought should have been nominated for Best Original Screenplay, and I have that as my number 5 film. Now, I personally feel like, as far as screenplay is concerned, I preferred Miller's Crossing, but in terms of films, I prefer this film. I think it's just far more magical and cinematic. It's my favorite Tim Burton film, a filmmaker I don't always jive with. I would obviously nominate it for Best Picture. It's in my top 5. I also would have nominated it for Best Production Design. I actually would have given it the Oscar for Best Production Design. Bo Welch's work is outstanding in this movie. So Production Design, I also would have nominated it for Best Score, Costume Design, Cinematography, Makeup, which is actually the only nomination it actually got. I would have nominated Johnny Depp as Best Actor. I think it's sweet, innovative, and sharply satirical. Gentlemen, I know Jay Money, you liked it, but then you had some negative things to say about it as well.
I don't think it's held up over the years as well for me personally. I still actually like it quite a bit, and I don't know if I would necessarily disagree with you about it being Burton's best work. It's certainly along the lines of what he does best. I think the satire in this was probably overlooked for a lot of the reasons we talked about. Like, I think it was overlooked for Depp's performance and sort of the craziness of the concept. But this is a deeply satirical film that I think is really kind of actually funny. You know, I have a soft spot for the film. I just don't think I don't know if I would say it was number 5 for me. It might be. It might be though.
Davy Joe?
You know, I don't know if I could put it into a list. I know that it's a film that I've always loved, and it's got a lot of heart, and I find it touching, and I like this movie a lot.
Awesome. So moving on to my number 4, and you guys are definitely going to disagree with this one, but I rewatched it recently to see if it still held up, and certainly there's some nostalgia involved here, but I just still loved it. I still love Quigley Down Under. I mean, like, it was so much fun. Now, there's a cheese factor, and again, I wanted to recast it, not because it's bad, because I wanted to bring it to a modern audience. And upon rewatching it, I mean, like, it recaptured the excitement. I thought it was excitement, and I feel like also it definitely incorporates themes of racism and mental illness within this revenge story in the Australian outback. I mean, I think that, you know, I think it's highly underrated, and I think it's old-style John Ford-type filmmaking, like early John Ford, bigger-than-life Western-type stuff. I really, and I couldn't bring myself to knock it further down the list because I was just so, like, happy. Like, it filled me, and so thoroughly engaged. Davy Joe's laughing at me. It's been a long time since
that's why we watch movies, man. It's to be happy. It's fun.
I think the hokiness that it gets into is forgivable. Okay. At least I forgive it. I actually, if I were nominated for some Oscars, I'd probably nominate it. I wouldn't have it win in any category, but I would definitely nominate it in the cinematography category. I think it looks great. I also would probably nominate director Simon Windsor. I think he does a great job, and he was fairly respected at the time. He directed Lonesome Dove right before this, that miniseries. It's terrific.
Yeah.
We talked about him doing Daryl. I would definitely nominate Alan Rickman in the supporting actor category, and I would also nominate Laura San Giacomo because I think she squeaks in. Now, she's far away from the people that actually, from the Kathy Bateses, Meryl Streeps, and Laura Derns that are in that category. But, you know, when looking at all the films, like, there weren't 5 of those type performances. So Laura San Giacomo squeaks in there into the top 5 for me. Jay Money?
Well, I mean, I guess I feel like I should watch it again because I really haven't considered it since the early 90s, 1990s specifically.
Right.
So I can't really dispute anything you're saying. I mean, it sounds like you really reconnected with it, and I feel like it's probably the movie. It probably holds up for the most part. I wonder if the discussion of race maybe was a little too heavy-handed. I mean, that I kind of remember that sticking out a little bit then. So I don't know how.
I didn't mind. I mean, like I would certainly, if I were remaking it, I might like make it a little more edgier in that regard. But Davy Joe, you've said your piece on this. It sounded like.
No, I need to see it again. I need to see it again. I don't. Okay. I can't. I have my recall is very poor on this.
It's good thing you said that word. But regardless, my number 3 is coming up right now, and I don't think you guys saw this movie, or at least you didn't when we did the 19-year review. It was my big discovery of the year from the project. I hadn't seen it before, and I think I saw it 3 or 4 days before the show, and was like, holy cow! And I now own it. This is Postcards from the Edge. And as I said in that 1990 show, I think it's a master class of directing actors. I think every performance is on point. It's kind of amazing. I think there's Altman-esque overlapping dialogue that felt very natural. We talked a little bit about the use of reaction shots in the film. That's like sort of a forgotten art form. And I feel like it absorbs you. I feel like it. Like you feel like you're there with the characters, like as they're arguing and overlapping. I mean, you feel like you're part of it, and you want to like chime in. So I think it's another underrated film. I think it's really special, and it doesn't get talked about as much. And I don't think you guys have seen it. Have you?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Oh, okay. Davy Joe?
I feel like I don't know. I don't remember it. I think I may have seen it, but I don't remember it.
So I would have given it. I do think it should have won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, Shirley MacLaine. I also would have nominated it in the song category, and it did receive its Best Song nomination for I'm Checking Out. I also would have nominated for Screenplay, Direction, Best Actress. If this performance was in any other year in the 90s, aside from the year Kathy Bates was up, I think she probably should have won. It was that good. Yeah. But Kathy Bates is just a notch above her there. And obviously, if it's in my top 5, I would have nominated for Best Picture. Jay Money, do you have rebuttal?
No, not necessarily. I mean, let me clarify. I saw it in the theater when I was 11, and I remember liking it. I went to it on my own. In fact, I think it was a matinee that I went and got into on my own, and I enjoyed it. But again, it's been a while, so I'd have to rewatch it again to really talk about it.
But Davey, you can't remember.
Well, I remember that I liked it. I remember that I thought that it was actually really funny, and I just, for me, there was a lot of comic and dark comic edge to it that I think I really appreciated. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much that would, I'm sure for me at this point, at the age I am at, it would be a very different experience. I think it would probably pick up on a lot more stuff and probably get more jokes just in general, or maybe more of the nuance. But hey, if it worked for me back then, it might still work for me now. So,
Davy Joe, you don't remember it, right?
No, I don't.
All right, so you guys have probably guessed now what my number 2 film is. We are because I talked a little bit about should have been nominated for Best Picture was the one I selected, and highly controversial. But I still think, my God, Total Recall is so good. I think it's great as sci-fi, great as action, great as comedy. It's extremely trippy and meta with actual depth and social commentary that I don't think is heavy-handed because it's balanced out by all the fun. I think that it is super fun. It's super exciting, and it did win an Oscar for its VFX. But I mean, there's other categories I feel like it should have been nominated for. I think it gets discounted because it's a Arnold Schwarzenegger film. But I think it gets extra points for working in all sorts of different categories, even a little romance, even though the romance is not with Sharon Stone right here. I think it deals with environment, capitalist corruption, reliance on technology, and there's this even sort of this like Wizard of Ozzy type feel to it, which also comes up in Wild Heart, another 1990 film. But there's this sort of like Dorothy-esque, like metaphors and stuff going on here. So I appreciate that it's an action film and a sci-fi film with depth, and more importantly, it is fun. And so it feels like the way movies should be because it's got all this stuff going on. I feel like it should have won 4 Oscars. 1 for the VFX, which it actually did win. Sound editing, sound mixing. I think the Jerry Goldsmith's score is also underrated as far as action movie scores are concerned. I think if you heard it, you would know it, and it resonates and it works really well in the movie. I think it also should have been 9 total nominations: costume design, production design, editing, Paul Verhoeven's direction, and of course, it's in my top 10 Best Picture. So I made my case, gentlemen. It's time for you to tear me apart. I'll let Davey go first.
Of all the people that would give you a hard time about this, why would it be me? I like this. This is good. This is a good choice.
Okay, is it in your top 5?
Yeah, I think it probably would be.
Jay Money?
I don't know if I'd put it in my top 5, but I definitely like Total Recall a lot. I mean, I'm a big fan of the director in general, and I think that you're right. This is a movie that it's a very distinctly well-crafted genre pick, but it also has a lot of things that transcend the genre. So I think it's probably overlooked. You're right, because of it's a Schwarzenegger movie, and I think people kind of roll their eyes at that stuff a little bit. But ultimately, I think it lives up to repeated viewings, and it's going to feel just as relevant now as it ever was before. So, good pick.
These guys are being really nice to me tonight. I think they're just tired. So obviously, number 1 of 1990 is going to be Goodfellas. We talked about it in so much detail tonight. If I were a one-man Oscar person, it would obviously win Best Picture, win Best Director for Martin Scorsese. I would also have it win for Best Supporting Actor for Joe Pesci, which it actually was his only award. I would also give Ray Liotta Best Actor Oscar. Because I think, and we talked about this in the 1990s show, how underrated he is, and I think Davey Joe agreed with me in that one. I would also have nominated for editing, screenplay, and supporting actress Lorraine Bracco, and she was also nominated for that. So yeah, I mean, so that's the full. And I know you guys don't disagree with me about any of those things. I don't think, do you?
Nope.
No, definitely not.
All right, so
JB,
what's that?
Where's Gremlins 2? Where's Dick Tracy? I mean,
yeah, they got bumped by some of these films that I watched later in life, and that's a good segue. You took the time to make this updated graphic for me that we were just going to show before we knew we were going to do an actual countdown. So this is what my top 10 would look like today. My full top 10. The top 5, and there's the rest of them on there. I rewatched Wild at Heart just the other day just to make sure it would make this list, and it was so good. It was one of my favorite Lynch's films, that and Mulholland Drive. So I rewatched every film on this list in the last, 4 months, I guess, and I feel good about all of these. So, certainly the last 12 months. I watched Edward Scissorhands at the ETC here in June, but anyway, so that's the full list. Jay Money, while you're squinting, I'll tell you: Miller's Crossing is 6, Awakening 7, Wild at Heart 8, Misery 9, and Dances with Wolves 10. And I had Hamlet there at 10, and then I rewatched Dances with Wolves, and I had to knock out Hamlet. I know you're a big fan of Hamlet.
Hamlet. Yes, that's right.
But I mean, have you rewatched it recently? It felt a little. It didn't feel as sharp as it did. The performances are all good, but the actual filmmaking felt a little uneven.
Did it
slightly?
Really?
It's nitpicky, but I mean, Dance with Wolves. I really like it. I really like Zeffirelli's Hamlet, but Dance with Wolves, or Shoshani Uwachi Tatanka, as it's known in some parts, it does hold up, and it's very emotional. It's an emotional experience. So
I like it. I like Dance with Wolves a lot.
So it's time to wrap things up. Evening summary. How do you guys feel about tonight?
It was good.
Davey, you first.
It was good. Good night. We did good.
Oh boy, that's Davey, everybody. Shoot, I'm looking for where's my thing here. I know where it is. Jay Money.
I think we buried the 90s. I think we totally wrecked it. We're done, right? We're done with the 90s.
1990.
We're done with 1990. We do have a 90s movie coming up, well down the year in our classic movie discussions.
All right, I never want to
If
think
you
about
really
next.
want, I can move it up to sooner. We can talk about that off camera. But overall, I mean, we haven't run long on a sound off in a long time, so I guess we have to revisit that situation. I wasn't timing us, and maybe I should have. I sort of was letting us go, but
Yeah, we had to make up for last time. It's okay.
I think it's fine.
Yeah,
I
we
think
had
it's
to make
good.
up for last
We
time.
did good.
Yeah.
But overall, I feel really good about tonight's the whole evening, the full 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came together.
And for those of you who don't, if you're just watching this video independently, other episodes we did tonight, we had an interesting discussion about Criminal, starring Kevin Costner and Tommy Lee Jones. And we had it after that. We talked about an indie from 2011 called A Dangerous Method with Michael Fassbender, who we love, Viggo Mortensen, and Keira Knightley. And then a movie we all really, really liked, Dangerous Method, by the way. So I think we can all recommend that. And then we talked in depth about Goodfellas. As well. So we have a standalone show on that. So Google that on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, No Name Cinema Society. What up? And here's what we got going on next time. Our current feature for our discussion, we're gonna discover Key and Peele. I never watched the show very much, but I'm gonna watch their movie, Key and Peele in Keanu, and that is gonna be our movie for discussion coming up very soon. Tuesday, May 3rd. The whole evening starts at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. And again, that's Tuesday, May 3rd, starting with a discussion of Keanu. Gentlemen, say goodnight.
Good night.
One at a time. But, all right, Davy Joe first.
Good night.
Anything, J Money?
Good night.
That's all I got. And so I hereby declare this meeting of the No Name Cinema Society adjourned. Good night.